It's a 1 hour show. By 1 o'clock we'll be done.
Okay.
So I think good morning, everybody, and we are live. We just wait for a few people to join us, and we'll get started. Good morning. If you're just joining, put a comment. Tell us where you're coming from, where you're joining from, and we would be happy to have your comments. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Ini. Good to have you in a bong. I'm sure you're joining in all the way from Calabar. Am I right? Uyo, or are you in Lagos? Good morning. Yes, here we are, and I'm going to introduce in our panelists in a few minutes. Inyobong is joining from Uyo. That's great. You're welcome. All right. We will get started, and then we would expect others to join as we get started. They'll catch up gradually. Welcome, everyone, to the maiden edition of the Workplace Wisdom Show. The goal of this program is to help employees and employers alike to gain wisdom to managing the workplace. My name is Enahoro, Okhae. I'm the CEO of Post Factory and GIG Mobility. And I've been consulting since 2008. How many years is that? That's about 14
15.
years, going on 15 years consulting, and I've worked with different organizations. And from my experience, there are certain issues that are usually not brought to the table in organizations. They are always at the back door, but they are very, very potent in its effects, and they affect a lot of people. Just speaking with one of the panelists recently, um, and we talked about a very particular one that I honestly did not think about. So we're going to be looking at that in the course of this show. We're only here for 1 hour. I hope that you're able to enjoy yourself. You can hit the comment section and put your comment. Tell us where you are watching from. Okay, so the first person I'm going to be introducing on the show would be our lady, Stella the drama queen. That's what we call her.
Grammar. Grammar.
Stella the
Grammar.
grammar. Stella the grammar queen. Stella is, when I saw her profile today, I'm like, oh, wow. All right. And what I said to her is, you've been around. You've been around for a while. Stella the grammar queen. Stella is, her full name is Stella Nnodi. She's a learning and development professional. She's a business writing coach and content creator. She works in recruitment, business advisory, consulting, in the area of mystery shopping, especially, and is a writer. She is a freelance editor and a proofreader. And when I look at the industries she has consulted for, oil and gas, entertainment, religion, relationships, it's part of what she does. She's consulted for the agricultural industry, education, law, aviation, business and entrepreneurship. She's managed all sort of organizations. If you look at it here, and she's in her belt has about 20 years cognate experience.
Yeah.
11 of that in the banking sector, and we can go on and on and on. And I can see a whole lot of other organizations she's worked with. So please help me welcome on stage our one and only Stella, the grammar queen. You're welcome, Stella.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome,
having me.
Stella. Um, how you feeling today, Stella?
I'm good. It's a sunny day here in the FCT, and you know how tricky the Abuja weather can be. One minute there's sun, the next minute there's rain. So I can see some clouds up there.
Yeah.
But hey, whatever it
Are you
brings,
trying
we're
to
ready.
trying to show me similarities between Abuja and UK? Thank you for coming. And I see the comments. Afam, you're welcome. Adeoye, you're welcome. And let me read the profile of our next panelist. His name is Nelson Dominic. Is the unusual. I saw something around unusual human resource professional. Nelson is a seasoned professional, seasoned people practitioner with a wealth of experience spanning almost a decade, and that's great. Interfacing with the C-suite business leaders, HR managers. Current role and responsibility include strategic planning, organizational leadership, change management, performance management, employee relations, rewards management, in strategic recruitment, process automation. I mean, all the works. And um, he's also adroit in board resolution, advisory, people culture transformation. I mean, this is somebody that has been in the HR space for a while and has impacted. So please help me also welcome on stage Nelson Dominic.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome, Nelson.
Thank you for having me. I know.
Thank you. I see some people are watching from Lagos, others from Uyo, and others are watching from Osun State. All right, good to have all of you here, and I'm excited that we are on stage together. All right, so today we want to talk about a very, very sensitive topic, and I'm looking forward to someone sharing personal experience in the chat. You know, this is a topic that usually will not come to fore because generally people shy away from it and people don't
Yeah.
like talking about it. And there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of stigma around it, a whole lot of
Yeah.
stigma. And it's not fair. It's not fair. Somebody is harassed in the office and then the person reports about it and then the person is getting stigmatized. You know, that is not fair. So my first question to you, we are only here for an hour, is let's start by generally explaining what your individual perspective to sexual harassment would be. Bear in mind that we have a lot of corporate people in the show today. So I'm going to start from you, Stella, the grammar queen, and I'm looking forward to hearing some powerful grammar.
Indeed. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Enahoro. Thank you for this opportunity. And it's my pleasure to make your acquaintance, Nelson. And thank you for everyone who has joined us so far. Okay, what sexual harassment means, in my own words, I will say that sexual harassment is in the workplace is the conduct by one person against another, which the other person finds offensive and affects work generally negatively. You know, it's just a conduct, whether covert or overt,
Mm,
from one person to another that in the workplace that shouldn't even come up at all. You know, I know that we have things like consenting adults, but let's not even go into that. We're just looking at it baseline, face value, your conduct against another person in the workplace that the person does not like, especially if it has sexual or sensual innuendos. You know,
mm.
yeah.
And the problem are those innuendos,
Yes.
because they are very subtle. Some can be
Mm-hmm.
hard, some can be subtle, and then
Yeah.
somebody can be soft. And I'd like to look at the variation that has come to fore today in the virtual world and in the digital world. I'd like to look at such variations. What are your thoughts, Dominic? What are your perspective about what's sexual harassment is in the workplace?
All right. Thank you again for having me, Enahoro. It's a pleasure to meet you, Stella.
Yeah.
Thank
Um,
you.
Thank you for everyone who's joining online from wherever you're joining, and I hope you just find this conversation really, really interesting and educative as well. So for me, sexual harassment, like if I take a clue from where Stella was coming from, is unwanted, sexual communication,
Yeah.
right? In any way, verbal,
Mm,
non-verbal, physical,
mm,
in any way. As long as it is unwanted, it becomes sexual harassment, right? It could, you trying to ask for some sexual favors, right? From several factors, right? Maybe because of some power play, for
Yeah.
some, for some what's the word now? For some reward of whatever it is, right? But as long as it's unwanted and it does, like Stella said, that's
okay,
you
we,
talked
we can
about
hear him. All
can
right,
you
go
still hear
ahead,
me?
please.
Yeah,
He's back. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
it could be as funny as you're on a work call, and
Mm,
you as a young man you're coming on the work call, putting on a piece of singlet, right? It could
mm,
be the work call as a young lady, you're coming to the work call with I don't want to mention something, but I
Spaghetti.
mean not exactly, not properly clothed,
Spaghetti
right?
top. Yeah.
Those subtle little things, right? Are what I would call sexual harassment in my own way.
thank you. So, you guys have experience. Do you have experience, personal experience, or heard experience that that would be very important, and we can find a
Okay, so I'll take this. Can you hear me?
yes clearly.
Oh, great. I'll take this, right. So earlier in my career, right, as a sanguine that I am, I was that type who would get into a space, everywhere is lively, I'm hugging people, I'm talking
Mm,
to you. But as I began to grow in my career, I found that in as much as you are that free spirited, you're sanguine and everywhere in the workplace, if you're not careful, you may be unintentionally crossing some lines around sexual harassment.
Yeah.
You're hugging someone in the office and you're hugging someone for way too long,
mhm,
right? Someone is passing and you're commenting on the person's shape, right? As a lady, you're commenting on the person's walk step and you're putting some sexual innuendos, right? Those are things we may not consider as sexual harassment, but they really are sexual harassment. And if you work in a place where they have strong policies, or you work in a senior climb, you could be prosecuted for it. And those are the lessons I learned earlier on in my career, right? As I was coming to say, you know what, there's some lines you don't cross. I've had to interview people,
mm,
and someone come into the car as a lady putting on a piece of singlet, right? Virtual interview. And I say, oh, young
mm.
lady, I think you need to go up this call and we can reschedule another time if you're not ready for it. Right. So I think those are just some personal experience that I think I know that I have had to learn from, right? To know that if
Mm.
you're not careful as a young lady in the workspace, no matter what your temperament is, you might be crossing some serious lines around sexual harassment that I should watch out from, and then my interview experience as well.
So what I hear you say is just commenting on what someone is wearing, which a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people would do as compliments,
Mm-hmm.
um, might just be the beginning of sexual harassment, right?
True, true, true. Especially in the workplace.
Especially in the workplace.
Yep.
And it is now possible for an interviewee, somebody you are interviewing,
To
to
harass the
sexually
interviewer.
to
Yes.
harass the interviewer with what they are wearing,
Yes,
right?
please.
Hoping, I'm imagining that, hoping that she will be found attractive or he will be found
Attractive to
attractive,
them.
and that can lead to a good discussion on the interview.
Exactly.
Wow. I've never thought about that last one.
I've had an
Interesting.
experience. I mean, I've had like three
So
experiences on
these are the things they can't wear to a physical interview.
that. Never.
Apply it on a virtual
No, but
interview.
no. I've been in a panel where somebody dressed like that, you know, came with something you have no business wearing to the workplace, whether it's interview or not,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a client, so they needed us to get people for them. So we got CVs and forwarded to them and asked those people to go. I wasn't in the panel. So after the interview, the CEO of the organization called me and said, "This particular lady, that do I know her?" I said, "No, I don't know her. These people, they just send their CVs." And I went through her CV and she looked qualified, and everything, qualifications and all. And he was like, "How could she wear what she wore?" By the time he finished describing, what she wore to the interview,
Mm,
I was horrified and quite chagrined, because I would have thought that someone with that quality of CV would
mm,
have
No
a
better.
sense of decorum. I went back to her and then I told her, and her response to me showed that she didn't think that her dressing was inappropriate you know.
mm.
So it's a good thing we're having this conversation, because I would like for us also, according to what your questioning schedule is, to talk about dressing,
Mm,
because I can see that I'm hoping, okay, yes, I can see some ladies here. I'm hoping that we can honestly talk about dressing, even though they say the way someone dresses is not enough reason for him or her. Yeah, because even men now are being harassed, for him or her to be harassed by anybody. But there's a place for how you dress. But let's not preempt ourselves.
all right. So we're going to talk about dressing. In case I forget. So let me ask you, Stella, from
Yes,
a
please.
woman's perspective, what are the conceptions surrounding workplace harassment, and how do these misconceptions perpetuate the problem?
Okay, the first misconception is, or would I call it prejudice now? For me, would be that a lot of people think, this is my opinion. I mean, there are no statistics for this. A lot of people think that a lot of women overreact. Do you
Mhm.
understand? Especially
Mm,
men, that
mm,
we overreact. I mean, common compliment I'm paying you, you are foaming in the mouth. How far? Calm down. You need to be calming down. Your blood is too hot. That kind of thing. That's one
yeah.
misconception. That's one prejudice, and that a woman should just take it. I mean, why not just take the compliment? I don't know if we
Mm,
remember the "You Smell Nice" event that was
Mhm.
mentioned on LinkedIn. I think some 2, 3, 4 years ago. I can't
yeah.
remember exactly,
Yeah.
where a young lady was interviewing and a guy came in to be interviewed, and he sat down and the first thing he told her was, "You smell
You
nice."
smell.
And the lady was offended, as in, am I supposed to feel flattered, or telling me I smell nice, is that supposed to influence the interview? And
Mm-hmm.
she
Mm,
she
mm,
put it on Twitter, I think either on Twitter or LinkedIn, and Nigerians face
mhm.
this woman
Yep. I
that she
remember.
should take a compliment and stop complaining. And I'm like, see, if someone tells you, "I don't like this," whether it's a man or a woman, just stop it. Don't mount the horse of why can't you just take a compliment. I'm not seeing it as a compliment. So can you just stop? Just
Mm-hmm.
stop. It doesn't remove any, it doesn't change. For heaven's sake, if I say, "Oga, please, I don't like this," stop it. Just stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And take your compliments to people who would appreciate it. I mean, especially in the workplace
Mm.
or even any other place for that matter. You know. So that's one of the
So
the the, the basic
the first one,
prejudices. Yes.
or the major
Yes.
one. So with people, what I hear from you is that people don't take serious, right, when they talk about these things, right? Thinking that ladies are going too far. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes, and not
Overreacted.
and not only ladies. Let me cut you short. Not sorry to cut you short. Not only ladies. I've seen a lady who her colleague, her male colleague. I used to work in the bank. Her male colleague walks in, has some guy tall, the whole package. And then she walks
Mm,
up to him and is trying to touch him and is trying to rub his chest, trying to locate his nipple in the office. And this guy was like, "Nne, what's up now? What's going on?" She was like, calm down now. You're not even happy a woman is touching you. Oh, madam, I don't want you to touch me. What is that? Why are you touching me? You're not my
So
girlfriend, you're not my wife. What is the problem? And the
it can
lady
be on
was
both
offended
sides,
that the guy
right?
was not. Sorry?
Yeah, I say it's on both sides.
Yes. And the lady was offended that the guy was not responding to stimulus. In fact, let me just call it.
Mm. Responding to stimulus. I like that. So I want to drop lessons along the way. So the first one, what you're trying to say to us here, Stella, is when somebody expresses, let's even imagine that you don't know, but we believe that you're not a baby, right?
Mhm.
But when somebody expresses in the smallest way possible, right, that please, I don't like this, you are harassing me. Once you hear that, understand that this is the information. You don't define whether the person is serious or not. It's not, that's not your, that it's not
Exactly.
your call to find out, to mind read, to lip read, to check out if the person is really serious or not. It's not your call. Take the information the way it is. And I tell you, this has happened to me before, right? As a leader, I understand the power behind influence on leadership. And I mean, somebody sent me a message around it, and immediately I said, "Oh, I'm really, really sorry. I never knew this is how you saw it." I mean, I desist immediately. So if you're here from a man's perspective and from a woman's perspective, right? Somebody says to you in the office, especially, that you are harassing me. Take literally as a message, right? Stella, any
Yes,
other
sir.
one?
That's all that can come to my head at the moment. For now. So if I get any other one, I'll still drop it in.
That's
You
a major
know.
one. All right.
Yes.
You, Nelson, the question I have for you is men can also, and you started anyway, men can also be victims of sexual harassment.
Mhm.
Though it's discussed less frequently. Can you shed more light on this often overlooked aspect? And I really want you to, shed a light on it. Very, very important.
So this is an interesting fact, right? Because our society believes that men should enjoy a woman's advance to them. Let me use that word. Or men should
Mm,
appreciate a woman's advancing to them. And so it puts
mm,
us in a difficult place to speak out or to reject harassment. I put it to you that in most cases, I'm not trying to blame victim or anything now, but from experience,
mm,
what I've seen so far, right, is in cases of sexual harassment, right, in most cases, men fall for baits. I sat on several panels, sexual harassment panels where we say, oh, I was sexually harassed, or this leader harassed me. We
mm,
find that from the beginning or from the get-go, those female colleagues, because they understand the power dynamics and power play and the influence that these men as leaders wear, they come to them and they are suggestive,
mm.
right? And men fall for those suggestions. And when the table is turned, it then became, oh, I was sexually harassed,
I was sexually harassed.
right?
To
But
shed some light on those
yes, yes,
little known, because
yes.
men in this place, we need to know, so that we don't put ourselves in trouble, right?
So I'll give an
Please
example.
share some.
You're
Yes.
working, and that's why for me in the office, I do not appreciate when you as a lady, you come to my table and you're probably at my back bending over me. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Mm,
Right? You or somebody comes to your office, sitting in front of you, sitting a kind of
mm,
way, winking a kind of way. Now, those things, whether we like it or not, are suggestive. You come over and you're talking to me, and then you're leaning on me with your bosom on me. I'm a man, I feel it.
uh,
And for men who
Okono
are,
bozo.
uh,
Bozo.
I mean, and for
Sounding
men
sounding very Old Testament, bozo.
and for men who have not learned the act of discipline, they see that as a suggestion to make some advances, right?
mm,
So for me, I think that you being able to draw and define boundaries is really very important as a man. We know that there are some men who are out there to harass people, but in some cases that I have seen, you see that even men are being harassed, right? Of
So,
course,
so
women
Dominic,
may.
sorry to cut you. I want you to hit the nail on the head because I need this to be very practical so that when people go away from this show, they are able to, especially guys, we're talking about guys now, they are able to note when this thing is happening because, like you said, there are nuances that are not seen and that can be turned around. So somebody comes to your desk and the person is bending and you can see the person's cleavage and then he's sending messages to your memory, and then 2-3 days after, you find out you're thinking of the lady, but you cannot tie it to fact that that's how it started. And then make an advancement when the lady keeps coming to your table, and then it's turned around and say you're sexually harassing. So that's one.
Maybe
So
when
any
she
other one?
doesn't, maybe when she doesn't get what she wants.
Or does she get what she wants? Exactly.
When she doesn't get what she wants from you, she now turn and say it's sexual harassment.
Exactly.
So that's one. And guys, you have to be careful about that. Any other one that comes to mind?
Another example, just like Stella mentioned earlier, is physical touch. Right? You come to the office and you are touching a man's head, and you're rubbing his head. Oh, he's my friend, he's my guy. Don't do it. You're harassing that man. Same way a man will not come to your office and is rubbing your head. You find it sexual, or rubbing your back or whatever it is. You are patting a man in the back, and the part is beyond 3 seconds, 5 seconds, and you're just there. I'm trying to calm you down. Right? Except you have that level of relationship, right?
Yeah.
Because it's even on this issue of two consenting adults in the workplace, one has to be very careful. I recently sat in a panel, right, where a key person had to be let go. Yes, I would blame this young man because, of course, why are you in a relationship with 4 or 5 women at different instances in the same company, right? But
can you see that?
In the same company, why have you dated 5 people? What's your problem?
Okay, right? What do you mean by that? Why? He's an adult. He can decide to date who he wants to date.
In the same company.
Okay. Would it have been better if you went to different companies?
I mean,
the thing. Okay, continue what you say. Let me take it down so that I won't forget what I wanted to say.
So I'll blame the man there, but we find that at the end of the day, it turned out that two of these people were probably expecting some favor, some promotions, but the promotions didn't come because, of course, the young man couldn't get management to approve those promotions. But they thought and assumed that he was the one not giving it to them, and then they came up with several WhatsApp conversations, testaments. And the funny thing is that that became your word against their word against yours. Right? Yeah. While he was claiming that everything that happened was consensual, they brought up evidence that looks like, oh, he had his way with them because he had promised. So they brought up convention. So you know what? Hope my promotion is still sure in September. You say yes, definitely sure. You just be a good girl. So
thank you. So let me take some. Let me take some comments. So Shadi says 2 comments that I want to read that she said. People should intentionally understand to stay within boundaries of professional conversation in the workplace. Yes. And with WhatsApp conversation, close, right? That's very, very. There's a thin line. You don't know where you begin to talk about work and when you begin to say, "How are you?" And then before you hear it, "What are you wearing today?" You understand?
Exactly.
And so exactly. Is that a professional conversation when you begin to ask somebody, "What are you wearing today?" Right? That's not a professional conversation. And then
I would have
and then she said, over familiarity and unnecessary friendliness. Shade, we said people should be friendly in the workplace, right? Well, she said, over familiarity and unnecessary friendliness easily segue into violation of professional and private space. This could translate to sexual harassment. Stella,
That's a
Let's
fact.
begin to, we're like 30 minutes into the show. Let me read a few more. Edwin says sexual harassment in the workplace as a result of poor job design and work
Exactly
relation,
what
lack
I
of
wanted to mention.
accountability. Talk about that now. Lack of accountability and the existence of a particular work culture. Work
Mm-hmm.
culture. Stella, while you talk about that, and we begin to look into what should people do, and talk about it from a lady's perspective. We also in one of our discussions that men are also harassing men now, right? And if you can segue
Course.
into that, if you can segue into that a little, right? Um, how important is it for ladies to find allies to help them manage these when they are going through? And I'll say this because usually when a lady speaks out to say I'm being sexually harassed, um, there are other who would not believe, who would probably think you are the one causing it, and just like it is, women, they are not easily believed. How is having an ally in the workplace important to this? Should HR or the HOD be our greatest ally? And the situation it is the HOD is harassing, what should women do?
Okay, that's quite a lot. First of all, the place where somebody said men should avoid dating colleagues at all costs. I
Mm-mm.
agree. I agree to some extent. Do you understand? Because I would also say women should avoid dating their colleagues. But then in the workplace, the average human being is an adult. Then, in fact, there is no need to say average human being, because if you're not an adult, you will not be in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
So
Our work,
everybody
yeah.
in the workplace is an adult. So because whenever I am taking training sessions, or having a conversation on workplace ethics and behavior, my mantra is, what you cannot finish, don't start.
Start.
There is a CNN poll that was taken on workplace relationship. Not every relationship works out. Not every relationship leads to marriage. In fact, not every relationship works out, because for you to be doing something with someone in the workplace, I'm sure we all have our motives. Like we
Mm,
said, if the lady does not get what she wants, she starts shouting and starts crying wolf. That was sexual harassment.
Mm-hmm.
First off, I also saw where somebody said something about accountability. What is the HR policy of that organization? When I got a job in the bank after youth service in 2001, the staff handbook that was given to us said people are not encouraged to have relationships, and if your relationship graduates to marriage, one person has to resign. That is because of procedures and policies. But then again, especially if there's an imbalance of power, if you are in a relationship with your colleague, and I mean, people just people, like I said, people get into these things for different reasons, and then one party says, I'm done, let's just call it a day, and the other person say, no, I'm just starting.
mm,
See that
mm.
there'll be problem,
Yeah,
because the
yeah.
other party, whether it's male or female, will feel dumped. And I ask people in my sessions, if you are thinking of getting into a relationship with your colleague, imagine if that person decides after 2 3 weeks, after 2 months, even after 2 years, that he or she is not doing again. Can you take it?
And be in the same space with that person.
Can you take it and still work with that person in that office or even in the
Mm,
organization? Apart from that, can you take it when that person moves on to another relationship in that same office or organization? So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I said, what you cannot finish, don't start.
Don't start.
If you know that you can take it, fine. And for you that has power,
Don't
do
even do
you
it.
how let me just speak in the Nigerian parlance. How much
yeah.
sense do you know that this person has? Because if me as the Oga, I decide that I'm not doing again with this guy, and if he begins to act up, did you check to see if he has sense in parentheses, and know that we are done, let's move on? Do you get? So
Mm-hmm.
like when Nelson was saying that how can you be in different relationships with different people in one organization? My answer to that is that the guy did not count the costs before embarking on that project.
True.
Because for crying out loud, we are adults. Let's not even look at the moral side, because yes, the moral side is important, but these are the things you need to check. I know someone who sought transfer when I was in the banking sector because the person she was in a relationship with said he's not doing again, and moved on to another person in the same branch of the bank. She sought transfer to Lagos and just left River State for them. Yes, she had that option. So she left the state for them and went to Lagos. The next time I heard of her, she had moved to the US. This was like 2010.
So let's take like a list of 5 things a lady should do.
Yes.
In this case, but I talked about ally. Does ally work in the workplace?
Yes. When this thing starts, when it starts, when you have established that yes, this is truly sexual harassment, and not because you didn't get what you wanted. Because if it is because you didn't get what you wanted, your case is rubbish. Because you're trying to be vindictive, and it will not work in corporatedom if it can be proved.
Yeah.
So, but if it's a normal, you're on your own, minding your business, doing your work, and this person decides to come and start disturbing your life, have someone you can tell, apart from HR, have a witness. Because when HR gets involved, HR will call for witnesses. Do you have anyone who can corroborate this story? So it is important to have allies, whether it's a guy or a girl, but let somebody or some people in the organization know that this is what you are going through. So having an ally is important.
Right? Yeah.
And for guys too. And then when you approached me for this, I immediately put out a poll on Google Form that I sent you the link, and I wanted to sample the opinion of men, especially because I know that sexual harassment is mostly against women. So I did that poll and I sent it out to men, and the responses I got, if we have time, I can read some of the responses. Now, sexual harassment is not even from male to female. There are same-sex sexual harassment.
Wow.
Yes, one of the questions in that my form, I asked the person harassing you, was it a man or a woman? And because it was only men, one person said it was a man, and the man is the owner of the company, so he couldn't complain. He had to resign, and the only person he could tell was his wife.
So resignation is a choice, and it's available too. Except that people will be wondering, what are they going to eat, right? But it's easier to quickly save your mental health and
peace
save
of
your
mind,
and have peace of mind, with regard to what you're going to eat. So how about ally, right? If it's too much for you to manage, let go, right? So that you can have peace of mind. I know you need something to eat, but because there are some of these battles that are very difficult to fight, especially in it with a lot of influence, in the workplace. How would you? Let's imagine, let's take a process, from a human resource perspective. Now, somebody comes to you in the office, or someone has been harassed. How would you advise the person to start the process of managing this type of issue in the office? What would be like, and Nelson, you can go first. What would be like the steps, to managing? Maybe somebody touches you where the person is not supposed to. I believe that you probably would have said it to the person not to do that anymore, depending on where the touch is. Some touches, is big enough to report immediately without warning the person, or someone is sending you certain types of messages or making certain types of advances, and you're thinking it's not funny. Maybe every morning you come to the office, the person is, wow, you look so beautiful. Wow, you look so beautiful. And now you're dressing at home. And as you're dressing at home, your head is reminding you that the person is going to tell you that you look beautiful. And that's already messing with your subconscious, you understand? Where should someone start the process of managing sexual harassment? and how?
Of course, I think over time you probably would have let that person know that you're not comfortable with such advances and such comments, right? However, it is important the first thing you do is to ask yourself, what does my company policy says around sexual harassment,
Yeah,
So the
right?
first thing for you, that
very key.
you make the person know, right?
Of
That's the
course,
first
of,
one.
of
Depends
course,
on the
else,
gravity,
health,
right?
yes, please. Else, your silence over time may be interpreted for consent, right? So let's it be clear that you are at one point or the other, let this person know that I'm not comfortable with this thing you're doing, this thing you're saying, this thing you're showing me, whatever it is. Now, when you have established that, you then consult what exactly your company policy says around sexual harassment. And for every
Mm,
forward-thinking company, there is a policy around this, right? So nobody's waking up
mm,
one day to say, there's an harassment, I'm beginning to think what do we need to do to go and call the police. No. Every forward-thinking is saying this is a document guiding sexual harassment in this organization, right? And for some organization, for instance, it is clear. You have it. You have now activities, actions, comments that represent sexual harassment is written clearly in black and white, right? Or is
Exactly.
written in a way that it is clear. You can easily pinpoint this person's action to a particular disciplinary action within your policy, right? But now,
mm,
once you have established that, just like Stella said earlier on, you have your ally, you have your witnesses. HR would ask you for witnesses, right? Now, one thing we advise is as an employee facing harassment, do not be the one broadcasting it online or to every member of the organization until you have spoken to HR or management and nothing has been done to it, right? Give your organization the benefit of a doubt to take solid action based on what they are putting in their policy before you go around and begin to broadcast in the
mm,
whole company, right? Because of course, HR will do their investigation, want to ask question, call for questioning based on whatever is written in the policy, right? For several organizations, they have different things they put together. For us in the organization, it is summary dismissal. You have harassed somebody, there's evidence against you, um, there's a witness, whatever it is summary dismissal. So what exactly does your policy says? Have your evidences, right? Have your
mm,
evidences, if possible, right? So it doesn't look like it's your word against mine. Oh, you said this to me that if I never said that to you, you have no witness, you have no
mm,
evidence. Sadly, right? They may not believe you. So once in a while, when you know this person do this, try to do some recording, try have your evidence, try say what if on WhatsApp or chat or email or internal company conversation that person is saying those things to you, or doing those things to you, have those things recorded. You know, for instance, someone has touched you today, if I didn't like that, right?
mm,
Go to go and chat up that person. You touched me this way today, I didn't like it. Can you please
mm,
stop? Now, what you're doing is
mm.
you are
So
not
that's
only
that
stopping that
chat is an
person
evidence. Mm,
exactly because you may not have an evidence for somebody touching inappropriately, but the
mm,
person's response when you chat with that person, either via your internal communication channel or WhatsApp or text, whatever it is,
mm.
would would give you a what's the word now? Something to hold on to, right? As the person was
Evidence. Yeah.
playing with you now. Why are you angry? Oh, I don't like it.
Aha.
That's an evidence.
Aha.
If somebody
Mm,
says, "Oh, I am sorry," right? And then the person does it again. Then you have the person did it again. This was an evidence where he admitted and apologized to the first one he did. They had done it again. So I just said that to say that that's a way of getting your evidences. So it doesn't look like you're
Yes.
just your word against their word. Oh,
Okay.
he touched me, they didn't
Yeah.
touch me. No, no. Have your evidences, have your ally, approach your organization, right? And if you work in some useless organization that even though they have
mm.
had those policies, they still
Yeah.
find a way to let that man or that woman who have harassed you go and
Mm,
victimize you. Please, first resign. If you have to look for a new job, plan your exit and
mm,
take it up against them. Because the government, for instance, have an organization, a body against sexual harassment, right?
yeah.
Take it up properly and ensure it is properly dealt with, rather than taking laws into your hands or doing anything out of the books. Ensure that you are guided by the books of the organization. But where there's no books or the organization seems to be lackadaisical about addressing your concern, plan your
Mm-hmm.
exits. As soon as you plan your exits, take all of your evidences, all of your witness, whatever it is, and go report to the appropriate government organization. And I'm sure you will get some good
Thank
action
you.
from them.
Thank you. If anybody got 1 or 2 points from that, it would be good that you put it on the chat. Let us be sure that you're listening. The very particular question from Odunola Ogedengbe, that's a very important question. And let's take it from there. And then Stella, you give your own tips to that same question. What are the steps? What someone do? It says, what if you are being harassed by a customer? Since you are a customer-facing personnel, who
Yes,
do you report to?
happens. Yeah.
Stella.
Okay, that's a tough question because I used to work in the bank and they say the customer is king, and you might just complain against the customer and that customer decides to close his or her account. What I would
That.
say is that management should protect their staff.
I like that.
Management should
I like
protect
that.
their staff. But the thing is, management sometimes cares more about the bottom line than how you feel about how a
Mm,
customer, you know, addresses you or behaves towards you. So I
mm,
would go with what Nelson has said. If by the time I, as a staff, I am being harassed or by a customer and I've reported to the appropriate portals and nobody is doing anything, I know that yes, getting a job
mm,
is difficult. First of all, I would with evidence, with pieces of evidence, I would try to reason with that customer. First of all, do you
mm,
understand? And then if it
mm,
doesn't work, you take it to your superior officer or to HR or whatever. Because these things are not cast in stone. I've seen situations where a colleague of mine, yes, in one of the branches in the southeast, was having, we just knew that there was beef between her and this customer. They were always quarreling, this and that. Eventually, they got married. So I don't know, man. So am I, man. So that kind of thing. How would you can't just So sometimes these things are not classes. So let's just believe for the best because HR is a very difficult job. HR
You are
is a
in
very
danger,
difficult.
trust me.
Yeah,
so now,
because we are doing.
now that they are married, what do you say?
And so now that they're married, now you now know that the guy just didn't know how to approach the girl and say, nah, I like you, come, let's marry. But somewhere along the line, they were able to iron out whatever it was. Today they are
Between
still
them.
married with children. So
So what being sexual harassment, quote unquote, to marriage,
sorry.
right? And they are happily married. And
Mm.
what could have been what was seen as sexual harassment eventually led to a happy married life.
Yes, because some people do not, even for women, when you like a guy, some people don't know how to display or let their feelings be known. Some people come from the angle of aggression, especially depending on how you grew up, depending on your background. Some men will just come with yes, by force you must agree, or if not, somebody will die. Do you understand? And
Yeah.
some women will be like, why? I mean, you shouldn't be. Aren't you happy that a woman is giving you attention? But when we're talking about a customer that has no marriage motive, I would say
Mm,
go through the process of reporting this thing. Let it be on record. Because when these things happen, they have sometimes most times they affect the psyche and productivity of the staff involved,
That's
and
mm,
nobody wants that. And then when it affects, might also affect your appraisal. And then when promotion comes, you will not get, or when there's productivity to be paid, you will not get because your appraisal was poor. So this thing is,
and
these are
that,
things that need to be looked at holistically. You get, yeah. And for
so
those of us who are
that
very
comes to
religious,
culture. It
and
comes to
then the corporate
culture of
culture is
organization,
also
right?
very key. Let me share an
Culture.
experience. There is a bank in this country where the CEO is the WhatsApp group admin of people who harass staff. If there's a WhatsApp group for
Yeah,
people
I
who
mean,
harass colleagues, he's the
there was a
admin, the only
brouhaha
admin.
at the bank manager, the only admin.
So if you have a problem in that bank, if you have a problem of being sexually harassed, you have nobody to go to because the man at the top that's what he does, you know.
Mm,
So that kind of thing is either you get with the project or you leave.
mm,
Because in the poll that I took as well, one of the questions we asked was when you were harassed, did you report? A lot of men said no. And some of them said, first of all, who will believe them? Secondly,
Mm-hmm.
that the person
Mm-hmm.
harassing them was the head honcho. So who do you want to report to?
Wow.
So corporate, yes, is a tricky situation. So corporate culture or no corporate
Totally.
culture, if the person who is going to sit at the head of the panel is the one who is championing, who is everybody knows that what you do for a living,
Is
parenthesis
harassment.
is to be harassing people up and down, where people will feel very unsafe in that kind of environment. You know,
So,
Yeah.
so, so I,
So
I
corporate
think
culture.
that I think that yeah, corporate culture, right? So I just wanted to add, right, by just giving this personal example. Ours was not even sexual harassment, right? It was more verbal harassment from a customer to one of our sales guy, lady at that time. And then no, I've had two instances, right, in my current job. And what we did was we had the meeting with the customer, right?
the customer,
See,
yes,
I say to people, I say, organizations should understand that how you treat your employees is how your customers will treat them.
exactly.
If you treat your employees as like they don't matter, like, oh, customers can get their way with them because customer is giving you money,
Mm-hmm.
then that's exactly how the customer will treat them. And so what we did then was we had several meetings with the man. Then virtual meeting was in Abuja. One of the man said, yes, we know that you're paying us, right? But we do not encourage XYZ. We are putting in, we are not allowing you to, by our policy, even we do not encourage verbal abuse. These are several instances and evidence this person have against you. They have called him stupid, useless several times. We do not encourage it. We encourage you to please desist from it immediately. We
Yeah.
want the both of you to work properly. If you think you have an issue with this person, we will change your key account manager. We do not mind to please you to make it
And put it
fine.
in writing. Put it in
Of
writing.
course,
Very
of
key.
course. However, you must ensure that this is not what we encourage, and that stopped. Two instances in my contamination. So
Exactly.
for me,
Very.
I think managing customers is not is first predominantly how organizations treat their team members, treat their colleagues,
Yeah.
right, and how well they communicate how valuable their team members are to the customers, basically.
And that's very important. I think that that would always come up when it comes to any harassment, whether it's bullying, which is going to
Mhm.
be our next episode. In GI mobility, as a transport company, we have drivers who are moving people around, right? I'm going to repeat this in the next episode, but the drivers know that if they are harassed by someone and they manage themselves, like we teach them a lot of emotional intelligence, um, that person doesn't go scot free. So we've had instances where somebody harassed our driver, slapped the driver on motion, and by the time they
Ah,
were getting to a point, because we have different points on the road, we have a policeman waiting to arrest the person or a terminal. You understand? So yes,
Mhm.
I totally agree that the culture of the organization and from Stella, corporate culture, and Nelson, what you said about the fact that how you treat your would be an indicator of how you would allow customers to is it's
Yeah.
absolute. Like it's something that we have to. And if you are running a business here, if you're a leader, please put that in mind. We're coming down, and we have just a few minutes more to the end of the show. Um, what would be your last um, um, no, before that, HR managers, you're both in the HR space, um, corporate space. How do you think that the HR department is failing, and what do they need to do in light of kind of sexual harassments that are in the workplace today? Yeah. Stella, and then we'll take it on.
sorry, repeat the question. I didn't get it.
In what way do you think HR managers, HR personnel are failing in managing this? Is it that the policies are not clear? Is it that they don't take people serious? Is it that they are on the side of management? What's your thoughts?
Okay, first of all, I would advise management to ensure that the people in their HR department are above board.
Mm,
Yeah, I can see you counting the ceiling, Nelson.
mm,
Yeah, it is important to ensure that whoever is in HR, especially when you have to deal with people relations, is above board, not someone who will be making excuses for the aggressor, because
Okay.
he or she has interest in that kind of behavior. Do you
Mm-hmm.
understand? HR people should also be people who are above board, one. Two, people who have experience in this, not someone that you put there and the person, instead of trying to make things better, aggravates the whole situation. So sometimes I know that, yes, HR people can be overwhelmed, so that's why it's important that experience is key and integrity is also very key. Apart from sexual harassment, there is verbal abuse, verbal harassment. I've been in that situation before. I was the assistant to the branch manager of a branch, and this woman was on my case 24 hours a day. You know, it got
mm,
so bad that somebody from HR in Lagos, our report got to Lagos. Somebody from HR in Lagos was sent to Abuja to investigate the issue. And she and I, we didn't even know. She was on leave when that man came. you know.
mm,
So when he came, he called me, we went to a different branch altogether outside my branch, and I told my own side of the story. By the time she was on leave, she was recalled to the office to a different branch. And then she came very agitated that I went and reported. I said, I don't even know. I don't know anything about, I don't know that guy. I've never seen him before. I did not make any reports. But you know that the way you run this branch, reports have
mm,
reached Lagos. Do you
mm.
understand? So
Yeah.
HR people should be sound, have integrity, and then, be experienced. Because HR is not an easy work, especially when you're dealing with people. If you're doing comp and bend, you just to press calculator and say, this is what you get, this is not what you
Don't,
get.
don't let the come and people hear you.
Mhm. The way
But when you're dealing with
to stay high.
these people relations, man, it's not easy.
Yeah. Time is on our side. We've got like a few minutes more. You want to put your thoughts,
Yeah,
Nelson?
I just wanted to add that HR people should learn to understand confidentiality on matters of sexual harassment. Very important.
Uh,
Yeah.
mm,
One thing is also not just have those policies, but severally communicate those policies, right? For me,
mm,
organizations, most times we have fireside chats, talk about our policies, have this conversation. So people know that we don't just have those things as documents, right? But by the time we have some meetings, trainings, conversations on these matters, people know who to meet, who to talk to. So it's difficult for people to then go through such situation and keep quiet. And so human HR should ensure that we are building a culture, and by building the culture, meaning we get all of the stakeholders necessary on board with us, right? And we are strengthening a culture where people know their rights, where people know what is in the policy, and people know and people are not afraid to speak up. But most importantly, is driving confidentiality. You don't want to be the HR person where somebody comes to report to you, and the next thing you are running to tell your colleague who is in finance because it's your colleague and
mm.
your
Or,
friend.
or even go and tell the drivers
Go and tell the
outside.
driver
The whole world
because
will hear it.
I mean, so confidentiality is important, especially in matters around sexual harassment, as well as ensuring that you have the right driving the right communication and carrying relevant stakeholders in driving the right policy around sexual harassment.
Thank you very much. And I like the part of the confidentiality. Shade is adding to us in the comments. She said it's important for the HR function to be courageous and principled. I think that is a huge part, and it affects every part of HR management. Because if the HR is not courageous and principled, then that in itself will drive what the culture of the organization is. What's happened. That in itself would drive what the culture of the organization is. Um, yeah, I think that we've had quite a bit of nuggets for this show. I want to say last words, like 30 seconds, 10 seconds. What would that be?
Okay, yeah. As far as sexual harassment is concerned, HR should work in tandem with management to ensure that the work environment is safe. There's another CEO I know, he's retired now, in this country of a big bank. He does not even want to hear. that there's a sexual harassment issue in his bank, if he hears it, the aggressor, whether it's true or not, you go on suspension first while we investigate. So
Thank
let
you.
people, let staff know that yes, management is championing it.
Management is championing it. Thank you. So management, if you are leader here, last words,
For
Nelson.
me, I'll say that it's a blurry line when it comes to conversational and sexual harassment. Watch what you say, watch what you do, watch what you act, watch what how you wink, whatever it
Mm.
is, as is really a blurry line in the workplace, and you really should be careful with that.
Watch
Yeah.
everything. Watch how you wink. Watch what you say. Watch what you
That
write.
wink is very
Watch
important to
I mean,
to
I
our guy
mean,
here.
I
everything.
mean,
Watch, watch everything.
the blurry line,
Thank you very much. I'm sure the listeners have taken something away. Thank you to everybody that led to the show from one point to the other with your comments. I'm sure that anybody who watched 1 hour would have something important to take away. From guys to ladies, this is now not a gender based issue. There's gender
At all.
equality in sexual harassment. So be careful how you manage your nuances around the workplace so that you don't put yourself
Mhm.
in trouble. Thank you, Stella, the grammar queen. Thank you, Nelson, so much for a
Thank
good
you.
show. And I'm looking forward to having all of you in the next show. Enjoy your day and enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you very much, everybody.
thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you.